All right, this is the Dvar Malchut of this week, even though that it came out on a totally different date when the Rebbe made this speech, which he made the speech in 1991. And then Tazria and Metzora, they were together, and they were also after Passover. But so as far as that goes, a lot of what's being said here is not, exactly pertinent to our time. But the lessons that are learned from here are certainly pertinent, and a lot of it is also according to our time. So here we go. Ready? Let's go. This is from the speeches of Tazria Metzora on Vav Iyar, Tavshin Nun Aleph. So this is already like 3 weeks after Passover was, 2 weeks after Passover was ended. Aleph. In continuation, La Medubar, what we said, Umudgash, and stressed very much, B'Zaman Acharon, lately, Al Derech Hatzorech, the necessity of Pu'ula, of the action of each and every Kol Echad V'Echad Misrael, of each and every Jew, La'asot, to do, Kol Talui Bo, all that is, I say, dependent upon him, not dependent, what is it? Anyway, which is obligatory to him. Lahavi et Mashiach, we have to do everything we can, each and every person in his own right, on his own, to bring the Mashiach Tzikenu, B'Pol Mamash, actually take off from Miyad Mamash immediately. Like we just finished learning in Likuti Torah that it depends on an arousal from below. What the Jewish people do, God reacts. So certainly this is true as far as Mashiach goes. Mashiach, it says the Rebbe, coming of Mashiach is a thing which depends on us doing it. We have to make it happen faster. So that's who is supposed to do this? Me and you, or more exactly me. And also, you should say also the same thing. So here we go. So we have to do everything we can to bring Mashiach. Now, Mashiach is going to be a person, again, just to reiterate this whole business, just like Moses. Judaism depends on individuals. So we have, Judaism was begun by Abraham. Abraham got the point that God is creating everybody, and he's creating everyone for a purpose. And Abraham got that idea. And what's the purpose? The purpose is to withstand the difficulties of this world and to reveal God in the world. To reveal the fact that the world is an amazing, beautiful creation of God, and we have awesome responsibility to reveal that. That's what Abraham revealed. And God gave him 10 tests, and Abraham said, I don't care what you do to me, God, I still believe in you. And that's Judaism. That's what Judaism is. And this he passed on. His children went into exile 210 years. Why? To see if they still would say, okay, God, enough. We don't want to be Jews anymore. Let's cut this thing out. Let's start back. Noah, he was okay. Let's be like Noah. God said, no. You're the Jewish people. You're going to get the Torah. You're going to have all sorts of obligations. You're going to have all sorts of trials and tribulations and tests, and you're going to serve me all the time. Are you willing to do it? And the Jewish people said, no. But there was 1/5 that said yes, and they got out of Egypt. Who took them out of Egypt? Moses. If there wasn't for Moses, then all of the Jewish people would say, we don't want to be Jews. Right? Free Egypt, from the sea to the river, whatever it is, from the Nile River to whatever it is. No more Jews. We don't want to be Jews anymore. We don't want to be Jews. We don't like to be Jews. We don't want the responsibility. We don't want any obligations. Leave us alone. We want to be like everybody else. And Moses came along and said, sorry, guys, that's not what God says. God made you into Jews, and you have to act like it. Right? You have to. Everybody said, okay, Moses, all right. Let's see what you can do. So Moses brought them 10 plagues. And after that, there was still 4/5 of the Jews said, we're staying in Egypt. We don't want to go out. And constantly when they were in the desert, they kept saying, listen, Moses, let's go back. Let's go back to Egypt, huh? Come on, you can be our leader if you want to. Or you know what, you keep on in the desert and we'll just go back to Egypt without you, and we'll call once in a while. Huh? What do you say? And Moses always had to encourage the Jews to come on, let's go through the desert. We're going to make it to the land of Israel. Right? And when they got to the land of Israel, they said, we don't want to go into the land of Israel. We want to worship the golden calf. We want to be alone. Leave us alone. Moses, leave us alone. We just want to be like everybody else. Stop driving us crazy. Moses. And Moses said, what can I do? That God created, I didn't create the world. God created the world. So come on, you got the Torah. Yeah, we got Torah. We got the land of Israel. All right, the land of Israel. Got the commandments. God is with you. What do you say? You enthusiastic? Yeah. Come on. Without Moses, the Jewish people have no enthusiasm in Judaism. Or if they do have any enthusiasm, they say, listen, guys, we're going to die one day. You want to go to heaven? Yeah, I want to go to heaven. So that's it. Moses says, forget about heaven. Forget about, just do what's truth. God is creating you right now. Do what God says. Do what God says. What are we going to get out of it? You're on the wrong track. Forget about asking that question. You're going to get the truth. That's Moses. That's Moshe. He wants everybody to be like Abraham. He wants everybody to be like him, like Moshe. To the truth. That's what Mashiach is doing. Mashiach is going to come to the Jews and say, Jews, the time for redemption has come. And the Jews say, we don't know what you're talking about. We're not waiting for, maybe you got the wrong address. No, you people are Jews. Jews, you are the chosen ones, and you're going to get, listen, don't say that. Don't say that we're chosen. We're not chosen ones, right? So all the non-Jews come and they hate the Jews for no reason at all. And the Jews say, yeah, maybe I am, maybe I don't want to be like them. Maybe there's something to this. Moshe comes and and that's what the Rebbe is doing. The Rebbe is the Mashiach. The Rebbe is the Moses of our generation. And the Rebbe is trying to make us crazy for Judaism. It's one of the big, how do you say, detractors of the Rebbe, one of the enemies. He made himself an enemy anyway of the Rebbe. So they asked him, what's you got such against the Rebbe for? He said he sits in Brooklyn and makes the world crazy. Makes the world crazy. That's exactly what the Rebbe is. And the Rebbe wants us to be crazy. And if you don't want to be crazy, then you can turn off the class if you want to, or you can see how other people get crazy. But if you want to be crazy, then for Judaism and for God, and that's what kept the Jews here for 2,000 years, no country, no army, no anything. Here we are. This craziness for Hashem, like Abraham had, like King David had, like Moses had. And now the Rebbe is the Mashiach, and he wants us to have this craziness also. So ready, here we go. You're going to see that the craziness is, how do you say, a method to his madness. Here we go. Cave and sins should be amenu that in our days, mamish, with the end of the month of Nisan, that was the year of I will show you miracles, Tafshin Nun Aleph. That was the year 1991. In Hebrew, translated to be 5,751. 51. So 51 is Nun Aleph. Niflaot Ereno. I will show you miracles. Kulo kolakitz, and therefore says the Rebbe, the time for Mashiach has already come. Ketze Yamim, Ketze Yamin. Says the end of bad and the beginning of good. Kapashuto mamish, really. Ubavada, and certainly should take off a miyad, that immediately the Mashiach is supposed to come. Immediately, kol echad v'echad, and every person will point with his finger and say, Hine zeh, Mashiach is here. Shekavar bod, the Mashiach has already come. But rega shalifnei rega zeh, 1 moment ago. We just didn't know about it, and here he's already here. Yesh le'bo'er, and everybody will want it, and everyone will desire it. You want this to happen? Yesh le'bo'er, we have to explain. We have to stress. Hadgashat inyan, this idea of the geula, of the future redemption. And there's two things. There's the Mashiach and there's the geula. Mashiach is the person that's going to bring about this redemption, but that's his whole job, is just to bring about this geula, this thing of the redemption. Redemption means, like I said before, that everybody realizes their true godly potential, everyone in the world. And this affects, first of all, every single Jew. Ba'avasa geula, to bring this redemption into Yom, into Inyani Yom, into every day, even this Shabbat. The Rebbe spoke this on Shabbat, right? And the Hasidim would meet after Shabbat, and they would write down what the Rebbe said by memory. They would write it down. L'kol Rosh, first of all, Binyani Torah, in the matters of Torah that are relevant, especially to this Shabbat, the Parshat Shavua, and this week's Torah portion. So here we're going to get some lessons about how to bring Mashiach, how to be crazy for Mashiach. Ready? The Cain, and also the Pirkei Avot, and also in Pirkei Avot, the chapters of the fathers, the Yom Shabbat Kodesh and the Shabbat Kodesh. Okay, in the religious Jews, from the days of Passover until 7 weeks later on Shavuot, so every week they say one chapter of the 6 chapters of Pirkei Avot, the chapters of the fathers. There's 6 chapters of the fathers. Look it up. It's very beautiful. It's translated in English, and there's explanations in English all over, right? Very, very easily understood chapters of the fathers. It's Mishnayot that are talking about how do you take day-to-day conduct with people, attitude, your attitude toward the Torah, your attitude toward the commandments, your attitude toward others. Attitude, that's Pirkei Avot. So we say it. So, like I said, this when the Rebbe spoke, it wasn't the same date as now. We're 2 weeks before Passover. When the Rebbe said this, it was 2 weeks after Passover. That's how the reading of the Torah portions go. It doesn't always fall on the same date of the. It says, so we're going to learn something because the Torah comes to teach us, and all of the Torah comes to teach us how to bring Mashiach. That's the main topic of Judaism. That's the purpose of Judaism. That's the purpose of the creation of the world. God created the world for Mashiach. That's the whole reason he created the world. Just like Moses took the Jews out of Egypt, as Mashiach is going to take the whole world out of their misconceptions and their mistakes. But also in that time, we're getting this month, we're getting to the days of Sfirat HaOmer. We talked about that also. After Passover, 50 days, we count 49 days till the holiday of Shavuot. That's called Sfirat HaOmer. When the Rebbe said that, we're already like 1 week into Sfirat HaOmer, like we're going to learn. Okay, let's start off with, first of all, what's really relevant to us now, the Torah portion, Tazria Metzora. Tazria Metzora, that's what we're learning now, right? We're not learning Tazria Metzora. We're not reading. We're just reading Parshas Tazria. This week is just Tazria alone. Next week is going to be Metzora. Is that right? Right? Am I right? I had a 1 second. Let me have a look over here. Excuse me. 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. Yeah. Tazria. My Rebbe was reading Tazria Metzora. It's stressed, especially the idea of Geula. So, okay, we don't read them together, but we read them one after the other. And the message, the lesson to be learned is the same lesson. Here we go. Ready? Tazria, this week's Torah portion is called Tazria. The word Tazria means giving seed. A woman, when she gives seed and gives birth to a male child. The Torah tells us that if a woman gives birth to a male child, then she has to be impure. She has to hold herself impure. She can't go to the holy temple for a certain amount of time. And if she gives birth to a female, then she's also impure for twice that amount. Okay, of time. She can't go to the holy temple. Because it says a woman that gives seed, if she gives seed and she gives birth to a male. In other words, giving birth, this hints at the redemption. What's the future redemption going to be? Just giving birth, revealing what was concealed. Look, it says, Yelda Tzion et Banah. Tzion gave birth to her children. But that's why it says the whole exile is like labor pains. The latest Zachar, and that giving birth to a male child, this hints at Hachazak Vatokef, the powerful redemption. In Likuti Torah, we said it's talking about love, but it's basically the same type of a thing. Revealing true, complete love, and revealing true potential, which every person has permanently. Geula Nitzis, this will be a permanent redemption. She'ein achra galus, that there's no exile after it. There's no exile after it. Shir Chadash, it says there'll be a new song. Lashon Zachar. Up to now, we've had Shira Chadasha. Shira Chadasha, like when the Jews left Egypt, so they got a Shira Chadasha, a feminine song. And in the future, it's going to be a masculine song. And that's going to be by means of Mashiach Tzidkenu, because of the thousands of years that we've been serving God. That's the arousal from below. In the future, it's going to be Mashiach is going to bring down this new type of a love, a new type of a redemption that's going to be permanent by means of the Mashiach. Hainu, Sheyolda Zachar will give birth to a male. This hints ahead on Leda giving birth of the soul of the Mashiach, that he is going to be the highest of highest levels from the Alma de Duchra. And as we know, when we see an example of something, that encourages everybody. You see a person that really knows how to play the piano or whatever, and it encourages hundreds of people to become pianists. You see somebody who really knows how to learn the Havdil, to learn the Talmud or whatever, encourages people to learn the Talmud. But the Mashiach is going to be a person that he's truly serving God, loving God with all of his being, and he truly loves every Jew with all of his being, loves the Torah with all his being. That's an example like that. It'll encourage everyone to do the same. That's what it means. Everyone will have a powerful love of God, a powerful revelation of who they really are. Pratias Yoter in more detail. It says, Isha ki Tazria, a woman, when she gives seed, this refers to the service of all the Jewish people, like we just learned in the Chuti Torah. This refers to all the Jewish people that we're called the Isha, the wife of God, in the time of exile. Shenim Shalal Zuriya, that the time of exile is like being planting the seeds. I have planted the Jews in the world. Haboim Yashresh Yaakov. It says there will come the roots of Jacob that have been planted. By means that God has planted the Jewish people in exile, and we have been doing Torah and the commandments. Calls them on Meshach HaGolet all the time of this exile. Nasit, there is made immediately a tzmicha, growth. Yatzitz Prach Yisrael. The Gula Amitit Vashlema, total redemption by means of the Mashiach. She'in Acharei Golos, that there is no exile afterward. The Yolda Zachar shall give birth to a male. It will be a permanent revelation and a permanent realization of who we are, that God is creating us, and how much God loves us, and how much we love God. That's Parshas Tazria. Next week we will learn Metzora. Metzora is sort of like the opposite. Metzora means a leper. A leper. It's not really a proper translation, but I guess it's the closest they could come to. Leprosy is a disease. It's caused by some sort of a bacteria or whatever, of a virus. Something. And tzorat, maybe on the outside, you could call it leprosy. It looks like leprosy. I really don't know exactly how lepers look. But really a person that's a metzora there's a discoloration of the skin or of the beard sometimes, or of the hair, sometimes even of the garments. Metzora. A person's house can be tzorat in a house. So it's a discoloration, especially in the skin. That's what it's talking about, Metzora. A discoloration. And the person doesn't necessarily feel sick. It's not a physical disease as much as it is a spiritual disease. And it says, and it comes from speaking negatively, saying harmful things about others. So we see that there's no bacteria involved over here. Metzora. Like it says in the Gemara, what's the name of the Mashiach? Mashiach is called Chavira de Be Rabbi Shemo. He's called the Metzora Chavira because one of the signs of Tzorat is that skin turns white. It says Chavira, white. It means the white one. The Metzora, in other words, of the house of Rebbe. That the Mashiach is called a leper. Like it says, says, therefore our diseases he carried, umachavenu, and our pains, savalnu, he suffered, vanachnu chashavnu nagoa, and we have reckoned him like a leper, muka elokim amuuna. He is smitten by God, and he is like suffering. My simari, what's the sign of the? So it says in my Isaiah, the Mashiach is going to be a person that is suffering, and who is this talking about? There's two ways of looking at it. Either it's talking about the Jewish people, that the Jewish people they've been suffering and I say being tortured, etc., by all of our enemies, the church and the communists and this through all the generations, the Romans and the Babylonians and this. They've been doing. We've been smitten by all of our enemies, the Jews. Or some say that no, it was Chezkiyahu, King Chezkiyahu, that he was also sick and almost sick almost to die. He was supposed to be the Mashiach. He lived in the same time as Isaiah the prophet. They were relatives. Isaiah's daughter, I think, got married to his son, to Chezkiyahu's son. Eventually, in any case, so whatever it is, it says the Mashiach is going to be a person that's going to be suffering. The Jewish people. What is the sign of the Mashiach? There's a story in the Talmud. Whereas in the Talmud, here it goes, in Sanhedrin. So it says there's a story in the Sanhedrin. It's a weird story. And it says over there that the Mashiach, Elijah the prophet, used to appear regularly to Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Used to appear to Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. And Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi one time, he said he wants to meet the Mashiach. He wants to ask the Mashiach when the Mashiach is going to come. So he said, okay. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said, all right, I can arrange that. Excuse me. So he said he's sitting. How will I know where he is? It's because he's sitting, he says, in the gates of Rome. And he's sitting over there among those people that are suffering diseases. And it says that all the other people that are suffering diseases over there, all the lepers, that they all have one big bandage. They wrap around one big bandage because there's pus coming out of their wounds. So there's one big bandage. But the Mashiach, he has little bandages. Little bandages, because he removes them one at a time and he replaces them one at a time. So if the news comes that he has to reveal himself, the time has come for Mashiach to reveal himself. So it will be a situation where he's completely without any bandages, because the others would remove the one big bandage and then they would clean themselves and then they would put a new bandage on. It took a long time. And the Mashiach, he would just take one at a time. Would take one off and clean it because he was ready. If he said, okay, time has come for you to reveal yourself, so just put that one back on and it'll go. So he says, he said, but he's sitting among the lepers over there. All the lepers, he's sitting among lepers, and he's also a leper. He's also got this tzarat. Like it says, that he's sick from our sins. He bears our sins. So it says that what was the end of the story? That Yeshua ben Levi went, and he went to and he saw that there was one person over there, one of these lepers, that he had a lot of little bandages on, and he would take them off one at a time. So he went over to him and he said, Mashiach, when are you going to come? It says in the Gemara, when are you going to come? And the Mashiach said, today. So I said, oh, that is good news. He ran home and he got himself ready and he prepared a big meal and for Mashiach to come, and he didn't come. So he went back the next day and he said, what's going on? Why didn't you come? And he said, Hayom im bekolo tishmon. Oh, he asked Yeshua ben Levi. I don't remember. He asked Elijah the prophet. I don't remember which one he asked. But in any case, he said, when are you going to come? So he said, you said you're going to come today. He said, yes, today, Hayom im bekolo tishmon. I'm going to come today if you listen to the voice of God. It's a sentence in it. Hayom im bekolo tishmon. It says that later on, the Baal Shem Tov asked the Mashiach the same question, and the Mashiach gave a different answer. He said, when the Baal Shem Tov said, you said you're going to come today when everybody listens to your voice. Well, the Jews are listening to your voice. I mean, they've been suffering already for thousands of years, and they still believe in you, and they still believe in God. So come on, what's delaying? So he said, when your deep teachings are spread out, people are waiting for me, yes, but in a very superficial way. When people really appreciate and desire Mashiach, which can only be accomplished really by learning Mashiach or taking the ideas of learning Chassidut, taking it to heart, and that's what's going to bring Mashiach. This refers to Mamado Matzah Shavah Mashiach. This is the Mashiach when he will be revealed. I'm sorry. B'yom Taharato. So that's what it means, that this is the day of the Metzora. That's next week's Torah portion. But when the Rebbe was speaking, they were together. So this is the laws of the leper, spiritual leper, but for lack of a better translation, I'm just saying, this is the laws of a leper, and the day that he is purified. So the leper is talking about the Mashiach. On the day that he's purified, that he's purified, this talks about Kaya al Mamadu Matzav Shel Mashiach, when he reveals himself and redeems the Jewish people. That's going to be in the future redemption. And so therefore, what we're learning now is very, very relevant. A woman, Isha ki Tazria, a woman, when she gives seed, that's talking about the Jewish people in exile, and Metzora is talking about the Mashiach that everyone is praying for. Says the Rebbe, if so, we have to understand something. Hakesha, what's the attachment, what's the connection between these two Torah portions, Tazria and Metzora? That in many, many years we read them together. This year we don't read them together, but when the Rebbe was speaking, they were read together. At first glance, these names of the Torah portions are exactly the opposite of what they convey. Tazria, we said, is talking about the Jewish people in exile. That means on its own, this is talking about giving birth. Like it says, Isha ki Tazria, when she gives birth. Then there's the connection that says, and later this talks about the Geula. But Metzora, that we said that's talking about Mashiach, that's talking about the exile. Shemitzan Atzma Hu Hepech, this is the opposite of good. You have to do something in order to make him pure again. This talks about the tsar, the core of the pain of exile. How can you read them both together? Tazria Metzora. Tazria, we said, is talking about the Jewish people in exile. But the word Tazria means to give birth. And Metzora is talking about the Mashiach that'll take everyone out from exile. But the word Metzora means pain, exile. So, one second, everything seems to be opposite. Tazria, which means to give birth, is talking about the exile. And Metzora, which is talking about Mashiach, is talking about Metzora, which means to be in the exile, is talking about the Mashiach. So it seems the whole thing is upside down. Tazria is a good thing, right? It says, no, Tazria is talking about the Jews in exile. And Metzora, that's a bad thing, right? It says, no, Metzora, that's talking about Mashiach. So it doesn't make it, it's using a good word to signify a bad thing, and a bad word to signify a good thing. The main thing is, in regarding to what it says, Tazria, and afterward Metzora, after it says that a woman, she gives birth, and she gives for a child, that's what's called the redemption, right? That's redemption. As therefore, you would think that what's the next week's Torah portion is Metzora, is going into exile. So it should be written the other way around. The Metzora is a bad thing, right? Okay, we said Metzora talks about Mashiach, but Metzora, on the face of it, is a bad thing, Metzora. So that should be first. And then Tazria, which we said is talking about the Jews in exile, but Tazria is a good thing. Tazria means to give seed. So it should be the other way around. How can we have the giving seed first, and then afterwards we have the exile? Doesn't make sense. Similarly, also, each one of the Torah portions on its own, and that's what I just finished at. Tazria, this talks about the redemption. Tazria, a woman, she gives birth. And the Hemshech, the Ikar of Parsha, is in the laws of the this Torah portion that we're learning now, it starts off a woman when she gives birth, and then the whole rest of the Torah portion is talking about different types of impurity that there are. Shemor al that's talking about the exile. And Parshas Metzora, that begins with something bad, the leper. There it's talking about, which that shows on the exile, but the whole content of the Torah portion comes afterwards, is talking about how we make him pure again, what you have to do in order to purify the leper. That shows on the redemption. At first glance, since the name of the Torah portion, Metzora and Tazria, this is indicating the content of the Torah portion. So it doesn't make any sense. Tazria seems to be a good word, giving birth. And the whole content of the Torah of that Torah portion is talking about becoming impure. And next week's Torah portion that talks about Metzora, which means a leper, the whole content of it is becoming purified. So it should have been better the other way around. It should have been that the laws of the impurity, they should be next week. Impurity should be next week, Metzora. That talks about, and the Torah portion that talks about Tahora, which is next week's Torah, but the content of next week's Torah portion, we should change the name around. Don't call that Metzora. Call that Tazria. That's a good thing. So put all the good things together and put the bad things together. Tazria is the name of this week's Torah portion. That's a good thing. A woman gives birth. And there it should be all the laws of becoming pure. And that should be number 2. That should be afterwards. And the first of the Torah portions should be Metzora, which is leprosy. And it should talk about the content of this week's Torah portion, which is becoming impure. So the whole thing seems to be upside down. It doesn't seem to make any sense. In short, the way it should be is this week, Parshas Metzora, which is next week, that should be this week's Torah portion. The name of this week's Torah portion should be Metzora. And afterwards, that would make sense to have all the laws of impurity, which that's the content of this week's Torah portion. Then it would make sense. So all we have to do is just change one of the names, basically. Take away the word Metzora, put that on this week's Torah portion. That makes sense. Metzora is bad, and the content of this week's Torah portion is bad. And then Metzora is first. And then Tazria, which is a good thing, giving birth, that will stick on next week's Torah portion that talks about how to become pure, right? Pure. Then it would be okay. But God did not decide to do it that way. So it must be teaching us a very important lesson. What is that lesson? That we will find out, God willing, tomorrow. And now let us do the Yom Yom.